Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP and
Mickey B. Fresh.
nice. Well, Mickey, things are starting to move along with Songbird Network now. And for today's stream, we'll definitely be covering a lot of the troubleshooting stuff that we've been going through with people in regards to, getting wallets set up and things of that nature. Also, we're going to talk about the FTSO and picking signal providers, wrapping and delegating, and all that good stuff. So, Mickey, anything, first thoughts about everything going on you want to address?
Yeah, so I'm very impressed with the Bifrost wallet. So right now you're able to delegate from there to two signal providers. Super easy. I mean, super easy. Literally, you hit wrap, you wrap the tokens, you hit delegate, you pick two, you're done. Just make sure, I think it's important for everyone to know, to leave a couple unwrapped Songbird to pay for the transaction fees, just like you do with gas for Ethereum, except you only need one or three Songbird.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I left like 2.5 in my wallet when I wrapped earlier today. So this will be a little announcement. Bifrost Wallet put out earlier today via their Twitter that the first reward epoch, and an epoch is just like a period of time basically, is going to start for the FTSO tomorrow at 14:42 UTC time, which I think is quite a few hours ahead of the US, Mickey. I'm not sure how many. So with that, if you're able to, access your Songbird tokens at this point and, get them to Bifrost Wallet or MetaMask where you can access some kind of interface to wrap them so that you can delegate, I would go ahead and do that. And one of the things that we did learn, Mickey, as far as, how the rewards are going to be distributed, at least at this beginning period for Songbird, will be basically imagine that tomorrow is a start date, and then we'll have a week where rewards will accrue after that start date for that reward period. And so during that time period, like every so many, FTSO closings, they'll randomly select one of the 10 time series with the FTSO. Some examples of those would be XRP to USD, Bitcoin Cash to USD, Dogecoin to USD. Those are all some of the time series. And since the Songbird Network and also the Flare Network use the Avalanche consensus protocol, which is reconfigured for the Federated Byzantine Agreement consensus, Avalanche has this probabilistic nature to it, which is employed in, the FTSO and other parts of the Songbird and Flare networks. So with that, it has some randomness in there, which I also think will be good for decentralization in the long haul with the FTSO. People don't know exactly which, time series is going to get chosen or when it's going to get chosen. I think that makes it harder for people to try and attack the Oracle. So I really like that they did that. Also, I found out, so I asked Bifrost Wallet earlier if the claim period, which is at 1 week instead of daily, which me and Mickey definitely thought it was going to be daily for the longest time. So you guys didn't hear incorrect because we've definitely said that. The thing is, it's not like a permanent parameter. It's something that can be changed by governance. And I haven't seen, Flare hasn't said exactly why they chose a week to begin with for claiming rewards, but I imagine it has to do with not overloading the system since it is Songbird Network and it's the canary, network for Flare in the future. So I think this is something we'll be able to do, like possibly with governance, move that time period up to daily, maybe once every other couple of days, whatever, if things are working fine, we can do that, but we'll evaluate that as this process goes on. And maybe that's an early governance vote, or, the Flare team, when they launch Flare Network, will move Flare up to, once per day, but I'm going to want to see what they have to say with that. So Mickey, what this kind of means is that you need to be delegated to a signal provider before that time that we just gave tomorrow to be eligible to receive rewards for the first week. Let's say you missed that day because your exchange hasn't delivered your tokens yet, or for some reason you're having issues accessing your tokens that you self-claimed. It doesn't mean that you can't get in. You could start delegating after, Thursday or something, and you'll just be included in the next reward period, which would start next week. So hopefully that'll give some people an idea of what's going on with that. It's not as powerful to compound on a weekly basis, but I think as far as if we're getting the network up and running, maybe it's not a bad place to start.
Yeah, no, this is great to see that we're able to start delegating these signal providers. And this is, the change in mindset we have to have. If you just held XRP or just held Bitcoin, now we're going to a whole different market. Now you're participating in the network and you have inbuilt yield with these tokens. So now this asset, Songbird, comes with native yield. And this is a big value proposition to the token and to the network. So you're helping, when you delegate to those signal providers, helping decentralize the price feeds that come in. And those price feeds are crucial to the F asset system when those assets are minted onto Flare. So by participating in this, you're earning network rewards and you're able to help the network itself, come in a decentralized way and safe. And we just saw a hack in another, I think it was called Pyth network, where one of the centralized oracles showed $8,000 in Bitcoin price and people got wiped out. And that's the problem with the Oracle problem, and especially centralized oracles and some of these half-ass interoperability solutions where they just lock the assets in the middle and then they're just like a honeypot to get hacked. This is not a problem, in Songbird and Flare Network due to the superior design of the actual system. So I just like the fact that we're able to sit here, earn network rewards at no risk. So when you're wrapping those tokens, you're not giving them to the signal provider. So just understand that. You're just sending like a smart contract, and what you're doing is you're delegating your votes to them. You're not actually giving them any tokens. The tokens actually stay in your physical possession. Now, the rewards that you earn are going to come in as unwrapped Songbird. So they're going to come in as native Songbird tokens. So then when you want to delegate back out, all you do is then hit that wrap button, and it wraps, and then it auto delegates to the ones that you already have chosen. Now, you could unwrap at any time, but you want to stay probably in for the whole epoch to earn the max rewards. Like, for example, I had 2/3 on self-custody wallet, and I had 1/3 I kept on exchange. So I can't access the ones that are on exchange right now. So I'm using the 2/3, and I delegated to the signal providers. The worst thing that could happen, if for some reason the network was rolled back, you do not lose any of your tokens. They just go back to where they were at the beginning of the genesis. So there's really no risk in actually delegating right now. You don't have to do just a little. Doesn't matter if you do just a little and you want to do like 99% then. That's what I did. And worst case scenario, it rolls back and that's it. So there's no real risk or there's no risk really at the moment, right, Patty?
No, yeah. The only risk is if you were to purchase Songbird somehow and the network got rolled back, because that wouldn't include the asset you used to purchase Songbird with. So that's really the only risk. There's, nothing wrong with delegating now. Me and you have already gone ahead and delegated today because we want to be included in that first reward period. So I think to help with this, Mickey, I could kind of draw out a timeline here of, kind of what we're looking at right now. So, we'll start out here. This is present day, and then this is going to be tomorrow, which is 9/23. And so tomorrow at 14:42 UTC time, which I honestly I don't know what the
I think it's like
comparison to us.
2:42 UK. I think it's 5 hours ahead of us on the East Coast. I think.
Okay. So probably for people in the US, this is going to be earlier in the morning. So maybe you want to get this done tonight if you have access to your SGB tokens already. But with this is the time you need to delegate to signal providers to be included in the first reward period. So as far as like when you'll get rewards, I'd estimate around a week after this. So probably on 9/30 would be the first date that you can get rewards. And those you will have to claim from your wallet within 3 months. So if you don't claim rewards that have built up and it's been 3 months later, then it's going to forfeit the rewards you have. I don't know if they're burned or if Bifrost gets them or what. I'm pretty sure they may just like go back into the system or something, Mickey. I'm just not entirely sure at this point what the plan is for that. And so with that, 7 days and your rewards are going to be accruing over this entire time period. Now, let's say if you get, your assets on 9/27, what can you do here? Well, you can go ahead and start delegating in this period, but however, you won't start accruing rewards until after this first epoch is over with. So you'll start accruing them out here kind of, and then it'll just go on as time advances. So voting power essentially is going to be determined by the block prior to the start of the reward period. And with that, it'll mean that the voting power is going to be locked in for an entire week. And then anybody that's, changed or added more voting power during after that start will be ready to go for the next one. And that will be taken into account for the next week reward period. So this is something in the future, like I was saying, it seems like governance could change and make it daily rather than weekly. But like I said, I think they're trying to lower the complexity on the network for now and, see how it goes to get going.
So another thing to add to what you said there is this is much safer than staking. So if you're used to staking in other networks in a non-custodial or CeFi way, this, you're not at risk to slashing. You're not at risk to trusting anybody. So you're not putting any of your tokens at risk like a CeFi platform would do, any exchange where they're doing it for you. And also, if you did staking in non-custodial, not in all networks, but many of them, they're slashing risks. So with this, it's much safer, it's more secure, your tokens are not at risk, and it's very easy to do, and there's no unbonding period. So if you want to switch from that signal provider to another one, you could do that at any time, and you could unwrap your tokens. So there's no lock-in periods, and there's nothing like that. So you're free to do as you like. And to send tokens off of Bifrost to somewhere else, you would need to unwrap them first and make them regular.
Oh, you cut out there for a sec, Mickey. All right. Well, I'll continue saying. So with that, we can kind of talk about the wallet situation. So I know everybody has a lot of different wallets. Yeah, you're back now.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. So kind of Mickey, turning it over to wallets. We have a few options. I don't know. I don't think Decent has their application out yet, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to use them to delegate to signal providers at this point in time. So it seems like MetaMask and Bifrost is the best choice. If you're using MetaMask, you can go directly to some of the signal provider pages or their websites, and they'll let you wrap tokens there, unwrap them, delegate, and undelegate. I even know FTSO AU made it possible for you to delegate to all of the different signal providers via their website. So that's really cool that they did that for everybody. And with this, you're either going to be in a situation where you had a wallet that had a 12 or 24 word seed phrase. In this case, if you want to just directly import it to the Bifrost wallet, you're able to do that. There may be some little hiccups. So Mickey, you have Exodus, and we had to do, little different steps in order to access your Songbird tokens after importing. And so if you have Exodus, basically, you'll import your 12 or 24 word seed phrase into the Bifrost wallet. And from there, you're going to have to go to advanced settings and derivation address, then select Songbird Network. And then from there, you're going to have to find the address that matches the private key that Exodus set up for you during the claim process through Exodus. So
mine
Mickey,
was all the way at the bottom of the list, and it says legacy address. And that was the one I had to choose on. And then once I chose that, this big red button comes up, proceeded, boom, went back to the main screen, all my tokens showed up. So that's basically the private key out of Exodus that was pointed to that Ethereum address. Now, Exodus was a little different because you didn't have to set the message key. They kind of did it for you. You just hit click, claim tokens, and that was it there. But you have to manually do this process to get access to the tokens, because I could not see them on Exodus. I couldn't see any Songbird tokens. But once I did this process, like Patty said, they showed up. But we realized that you had to switch it to a legacy address, and that matched my private key from the Ethereum address on Exodus, which was a little confusing to do, but this is strictly for just Exodus people.
Yeah. And so with this, I'm kind of writing it out. If you have Exodus, you'll take a 12 or 24 word seed phrase, whichever they use for that wallet. You can import it into the Bifrost wallet. Make sure you put spaces between each word when you enter it in there. And this is going to require a fresh Bifrost wallet. So if you already created one, and you want to import into the Bifrost wallet application, you need to probably move your assets elsewhere that are already on it if it's created already, and then delete the app, reinstall it. And then at this point, if you're newly installing it or reinstalling it, you'll select the option that says I already have a wallet. That's how you put in the seed phrase. And then from there, you have to go to advanced settings, address derivation, click on Songbird Network. And like Mickey was saying, choose the legacy address, which should match the private keys that they gave you on your Spark claim via Exodus. Now, so that'll kind of take care of Exodus. If you have questions about that, I just, re-listen to this. That's basically all there is to it. And then from here, we also have Ledger users. So this is going to be a large swath of the community. You're able to directly import into Bifrost wallet with your 24 or 12 word seed phrase as well. The other option is if you don't want to do that, you can connect your Ledger Nano to MetaMask. And I would reference anybody that needs to do this still to go and take a look at the video we posted yesterday. It'll explain everything. With that, you're going to have your Ledger Live application fully updated. You need your Ledger firmware fully updated. And then on top of that, you'll have to turn on developer mode to see the Songbird application and download it. You'll also need to make sure there's enough storage space on your Ledger to do that. And then additionally, in MetaMask, you'll have to connect to the Songbird blockchain, which we included in that video, the information you need to do that. And I talk about it as well. And then you also have to turn on the ability to connect your MetaMask wallet to your Ledger Live or your Ledger Nano device, rather, via the advanced settings on MetaMask. And then the last thing I know people were having trouble with, and I had trouble with as well, when you try and connect the bridge between Ledger and MetaMask, make sure your Ethereum address is open on your actual, Ledger device before you try and connect that bridge. So that should hopefully fix anybody's errors if it's just not connecting for some reason. And then from there, you can send it off to, Bifrost if you want to. And just know you're going to have to approve that transaction on the Ledger device. So, Mickey, I don't know. Have you heard about, I see somebody asking about the Decent wallet, and I don't know if anybody in the comments that was planning on using it, if they've released a Songbird application. I feel like they haven't at this point, Mickey.
I think you could see your Songbird tokens on there, but I'm not sure if you could delegate from there yet. I haven't seen anyone being able to do that yet. So still waiting on that from Decent. I have a Decent wallet too. What I want to touch on here is something that might come as a surprise to many people. First things first, I would turn biometrics on your Bifrost wallet. Now, it's not financial advice or any type of tax advice, just educational purpose only. But I would advise to say, I'm putting biometrics on mine. And these software wallets are as secure as your hardware wallet. If you keep biometrics on, your biometrics are secure in a secure enclave, especially if you have an iPhone. It's in a secure enclave security processor, cannot be hacked. They're basically, according to Apple, unhackable for the most part. So every time you authorize a transaction, it has to scan your face. So those biometrics there is pretty much as secure as you're going to get as a hardware wallet. I know we've been programmed for years, and years ago there weren't biometrics authentication, but now there is. So it's always been like, well, keep your stuff off the exchanges, keep them on cold storage. Well, now there's a new option that's going to be much more functionally easier to use. Because if you're going to connect your Ledger to MetaMask, it's a real pain in the ass to use that every time you got to do a transaction. And the security isn't that much greater. You have an extra level where, okay, it's off your device, but even if your physical phone got stolen, nobody's going to be able to hack into your software wallet. They need your biometrics, and you can't hack the biometrics out of the secure enclave. So every time you authorize a transaction, you're doing that with your biometrics. The other choice is do it through a PIN, which is not as secure then. But that's where these mobile devices have become pretty secure, where I'm comfortable using the software wallet. You're not exposing your private key. Nobody can get access to that unless they had your biometrics. So this is just something I would think about, because I know everyone de facto defaults that we got to go to the hardware wallets, but those are kind of getting phased out because now some people feel like that extra layer of security is necessary. If that's you, that's fine. But I just want people to be open that these aren't like hardware wallets where they could just be hacked. Now, Bifrost has went through the security audit and intrusion tests for their own wallet. But if Bifrost disappeared tomorrow and say Tor Labs went out of business, all you do is import your seed phrase to another wallet. So you're always going to have access to your assets, no matter what. And biometrics on is the safest way. Only you have authorization through your biometrics on that phone. And this is for Apple. Android, I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah, and I'll add, Mickey. So we actually did a video back in June on their security audit. So if you want to check that out, and we'll hear more for them about their wallet in the future. And to add to this, if I know people are very stuck on hardware wallets, which is fine. Like, feel free to use those, but I at this point, I feel like it's fine to use a lot of these hot wallets that are out there. As long as you're being smart with what you're doing and not making yourself a target, it's like, they're not just going to come after you. Also, like you said, it's in that secure enclave on your phone with your biometrics. So there's multiple steps to access your funds, basically. And also, like, to think that we're going to have hardware wallets in the future of crypto, if we're talking about digital money, like, it just makes inherently no sense to me. I mean, we have stuff like we've covered multi-party computation in the future and other things like that are coming that can kind of erase some of the, I guess, fears of using hot wallets and things of that nature. So the space will change. Definitely use a hardware wallet if you want. Just know it's going to be a
Clunky.
little, yeah, it'll just be, I mean, you just got to do a little extra stuff every time. So I'd rather have it on my phone. I don't particularly have a problem with that. And
also, I just want people to know that you're not trusting Bifrost with any of your assets. All that mobile app is an access portal to allow you to your Songbird account on the Songbird Network. That's all it's doing. And instead of storing your private keys or seed phrase in a hardware wallet, they're secured through the secure enclave, because you can't access them unless you're able to get the biometrics authentication out of your secure enclave. So you have the same, it's not far off from the level of security. I don't even know if hot wallet is the right term, because it's not like your private keys are just sitting there and somebody can hack them. They're not
that's true.
accessible to anyone. So I don't know if hot wallet is the right word, because you can't get into the biometrics there, and you're not trusting Bifrost. So these are non-custodial wallets. So there's no trust in Bifrost themselves for doing anything. They're just basically creating a software to allow you to access your account, but they don't have access to your assets or anything like that.
Absolutely. Also, Mickey, I wanted to just address some other troubleshooting things for people that didn't have, that self-claim via some different wallets. So I know a bunch of people did the Zum claim where you utilized a Mu or MyEther wallet address. With that, you should just be able to import the seed phrase into the Bifrost wallet, or if they have private keys, you could always put the private keys into MetaMask to access those, since I don't believe Mu is going to have any Songbird token support in the future. And then additionally, so I know like Elapal, Cool Wallet, some of these other ones people are unsure about. The only way that I know of that you can import into Bifrost is if it's a 12 or 24 word seed phrase. So keep that in mind. If it has some other kind of seed phrase length as far as the words, then you could look to import private keys into MetaMask to access the Songbird tokens, or you should be reaching out to your wallet provider and telling them, hey, like, how can I get access to these things?
And that's also assuming you made the claim correctly by June 11th. So you would have had to set that claim, that message key up before June 11th. If that wasn't set by then your tokens are not going to show up, even if you do move that seed phrase. So as long as that's set, you could check, on on the XRP ledger scan to see if that claim went through, right?
Sorry, can you repeat that part?
You could check to see the message key through the XRP ledger, right? To see on XRP scan.
Yeah, you can certainly do that. If you don't remember what Ethereum address you used, you could definitely do that. So that would require you putting your XRP address in there. Now, what I see a lot of people doing is they think that XRP scan or BitHomp are somehow related to like Songbird and stuff like that. If you put your Songbird address in those block explorers, it's not going to show you anything because they're looking at the XRP ledger. With the, now we have a new block explorer that we'll be able to use for Flare and Songbird. This is it right here. It's songbird-explorer.flare.network. And so this is where you'll be looking up to see if things work. You can put your address here, top right. It'll show you, what tokens are out there, what are the transactions looking like, what's happened with the blocks, who's like the top accounts. and things of that nature. So this is where you want to go for those kind of things.
It's very easy to use too. Like the colors, some of the UI they did. It's really easy to see and to actually look at different transactions. Kind of easier than even the XRP scan and others. So I like the modern look to it, the different colors. And it's a tool that we should just get familiar with. You won't always have to use it, but if you do, you should be familiar with it. So just go to the website, check it out. And it's the Block Explorer. So we think of this as like the search for that blockchain, right? It explores the whole blockchain. You can see different transactions. You can see just like the rich list in the XRP ledger, which is a small version of, inside the Block Explorer. And these things are going to be upgraded as time goes on. As more different applications are built and other components, you're going to need to look in there and see different things. Especially if you want to check to see if a transaction actually went through, you'll always be able to look on the blockchain and see.
Cool. Yeah. And Mickey, one thing I wanted to bring up prior to just getting into some of the more troubleshooting stuff is we do have a Patreon where we have like dedicated chat rooms and we make posts and videos in there and help people out. So if you have interest in joining that, I'm sure one of the mods can drop it in the comments. So take a look at that if you're having issues and need extra help. Otherwise, I mean, we put out a ledger to send to Bifrost video yesterday. So if you received via an ETH address on the ledger, you can follow along with that, or you can import your ledger like seed phrase into Bifrost in order to access the tokens. The issue is when you get with some of these wallet providers, they're not always going to support every asset out there. So that's why you kind of have to do some of these steps. Ledger's not in a hurry to be building in the Songbird application on Ledger Live. They only have it for their firmware, so you can at least get it off. And some of these other wallets haven't even, gotten to the point of making it possible for you to do that. At least like Ledger has that connection with MetaMask, so you can access those tokens. But if that wasn't available, then you would have to import the seed phrase off. So along with some of the other troubleshooting stuff, Mickey, just last part, if you have, 12 or 24 word seed phrase with some of these other wallets, you can import to Bifrost, or you can try importing the private keys for the address that should have your Songbird tokens into MetaMask or some other wallet that lets you do that and access them that way. And that will require you to connect to the Songbird blockchain on MetaMask, which in our video yesterday, we also cover. There's also documentation on how to do some of this stuff if you go to flare.xyz and then click their docs tab at the top, it'll take you to some of this information. This is how you can see what's going on the Songbird blockchain and access your tokens through MetaMask right here. And then I guess with the next part, Mickey, we can kind of get into talking about the FTSOs here.
Yeah. So let's go through the signal provider. So now which website is this?
Yeah, so this is called flaremetrics.io. I believe Tim Rowley set it up, and he's given out some APIs to people so they can utilize it too and kind of get access to the data. And so with that, right now they're kind of posting what are the commission rates of these signal providers, which are default 20%. And I don't think anybody's changing right now, according to this. Additionally, it's going to show you how much voting power they've accrued so far. Bifrost, Oracle, and FTSO EU have definitely been having a battle to see who's going to be the top one. They've been flipping back and forth since yesterday. So we have FTSO EU at 11.4 million wrapped Songbird delegated to them, and Bifrost at 11.35 million wrapped Songbird delegated to them. FTSO AU is next. So I'm not really particularly surprised that these are the top three signal providers at this point in time. They're kind of some of the most well-known companies in the Flare and Songbird community. Additionally, FTSO UK is doing pretty solid with 4.3, and then we have Scandi Nodes, Best FTSO, AFTSO, Alpha Oracle, Arius Aux, Use Your Spark. This one's interesting. Lena Instruments. It's some kind of like financial authority in Switzerland, I believe. So that's kind of cool that they're going to be operating a signal provider on the network. Sundara is a new one from I believe one of the guys is from the UK. Is he from Bangladesh? Okay.
I thought I saw one that was Southeast Asia. Maybe it was a different one.
Well, it says Asia here. It may be the guy I was talking to that's working with them is from the UK, and they may have some of the team in Asia. Inner Oracle's a new one I didn't know about. FTSO.com and Flare FTSO They've been around. Gala Games will be doing theirs, and then FTSO Flare. Then we'll have like Bitrue, which I don't know if Bitrue will let us delegate directly from our wallets or if they'll make you do it via their exchange interface. So, I mean, that's something you could consider if you want, but I doubt that you'll be able to use the token elsewhere if you do that.
Yeah,
And
I would
then,
be weary of, I mean, just to be honest, if you are able to get a Bifrost wallet set up and you're able to delegate from here, there's no reason why you should be going through the exchanges. You know, that's for people who just really want to keep it as simple as possible. They just want to stay on that exchange. But if you're able to set up a Bifrost wallet and get assets in there, you're going to get the max rewards and the max participation by doing it through the self-custody wallets. And it's more secure because you're not trusting anybody. And this is kind of different than staking, Patty. So in the future, we could see when regulatory clampdown comes with certain things, especially with staking, since the validators are custodying your assets, right? And staking most of networks, not all, like Algo, you don't, for example. But in many networks, like Polkadot, you actually give to the validators, and now they're custodying it. It's possible in the future that in the US, you could see money service provider license being necessary for those validators in the future. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible because they're custodying it. Now, with the way the signal providers are set up, since they're not custodying any of your actual assets and you're just delegating them voting power, there won't be these restrictions on needing to be money service providers or custodians in the future. There won't be any regulatory requirements because they're not holding any of your assets. So what that will mean is we'll have a more robust ecosystem of many different signal providers that won't need these high regulatory hurdles to overcome just to be a signal provider or be a validator. And especially next year with ETH 2.0 getting all this attention in the media and everything, it's possible that we could see the KYC AML things clamp down on validators and proof of stake. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but I could see that happening because of the fact that they're custodying your assets. Even though it's done in a self-custodial way, they're still custodying. And that's why with the F asset system, if you wanted to stake Spark, it's got to go through a regulated entity. But this, you're able to earn network rewards, not have to trust anyone, and at no risk. So it's like the best of all worlds right here.
absolutely. And so with that, also like later today, I'll be getting out a video that goes through delegating from the Bifrost wallet. If you have questions about that or just want to see what it looks like on Bifrost, and I'll just kind of talk about the delegation process more in that video. So we'll have something later. I just have to blur out everything that shows in my wallet because I'm not really trying to reveal my bags, but we'll have something for that later on. And then as far as looking at these FTSOs, I mean, like personally, I'm pretty comfortable with like a lot of these from looking at their website. I mean, even like I like Arius Aux, I like Use Your Spark. They have good websites. They have signals available. They look pretty accurate with they look pretty accurate compared to like global averages I look across on some different providers out there. And I'm just saying like them specifically because I know they have lower voting power. So, we don't really know who's going to be the most successful. And obviously the ones at the top are, they're the most popular, which is not shocking to me. They've, AU, EU especially have been around for a while now. And they've also posted a lot of great stuff in the community. Some of these other signal providers, just came along later on. And, after these first couple of weeks of going through these reward periods, we'll start getting an idea of, is there going to be big variances in the success rates of these signal providers, or are they going to be relatively close together? So that's something that will be interesting to see. I would expect more variance in the short term, but long term, I imagine the signal providers their rates will kind of start converging as far as successfulness. And we'll also see like, some of these other ones down here may not be bad. And to gain more share of voting power, you may see them drop their rates compared to some of these other signal providers up here. I mean, like if you're, just thinking from a business standpoint, if you're FTSO, EU, and Bifrost Oracle, and you can get this much voting power, which is way more compared to even the rest of these down the line, like you probably don't feel like you need to lower your fees as much because people seem to trust you right off the bat. And yeah, you're popular. So it'll be interesting to see how those change in the future.
Yeah, no, this whole process of being able to delegate here and earn network rewards, what this is doing is it's transferring the value. So all this inflation that takes place, the inflation rate is 10% of 15 billion. That's 1.5 billion Songbird that are going to be generated and distributed in the first year. Now that adds to the total market cap of these assets, and it's the value is going to go to those people who participate, but it doesn't necessarily raise the price. So if you look on CoinMarketCap sometimes, you see assets going up in the rankings, but their prices maybe haven't jumped so high, and you wonder why. Well, it's because the inflation of those networks is distributing rewards to people who are participating on the network. Like, just for example, one that stands out a lot is like the Curve DAO. That one, the price really went from $2 to like $2.93, but it's jumped up way high in the rankings because its inflation is very high and it's going to the people on that network. So this is why we got to be careful of price always, because price isn't always the way in capital appreciation that you could build wealth. By just being here participating, you're building up wealth. So even if that Songbird price doesn't skyrocket, you're still earning value and you're adding to your portfolio without capital appreciation taking place. If capital appreciation does happen, that's only a bonus on top now of those assets you earned are worth more. But you're earning value from the network without having to sit here hoping for moon. And I think this is important going forward. So network rewards are like the first step in being able to earn at no risk. And then DeFi is the next step to be able to earn without always having to count on capital appreciation to build wealth.
Absolutely. And with that, just to kind of touch on XFi, because we know that's going to be coming out, I wouldn't expect them to start launching stuff until after the 27th. And that's when the expected date from us to move to observation mode to, like complete live action, handing over the network to the validators and all of that. And at that point, we won't, Flare won't be able to unilaterally roll back the network, and that will be happening on the 27th. BitTrue is going to be the first exchange to list Songbird. So if you're interested in buying at launch, or, maybe depending on price, you're interested in buying, go ahead and get set up with BitTrue. I don't know if there's going to be any other ones on day one. I imagine we'll have a few more come along in the, couple of weeks following. And with that, and on XFi, Flare Finance is doing another call in their Discord today, I believe. So we're going to be checking that out shortly, and hopefully we'll have some more information regarding that. But I don't think it makes sense for them to launch until after the rollback period is over, because there's going to be a lot of assets changing hands on Songbird, and it wouldn't be great if it got rolled, or on XFi, and it wouldn't be great if it got rolled back during that time period. So I would say, expect something to come out from them next week in regards to that, or, they'll put out some information this week prepping people for it.
Well, the Discord's at 3 p.m. today, right? Eastern?
Yeah. So we got to hop off soon to get to that. But so we'll see more information from XFi in the future and more documentation from Flare. Let's see. Oh, here's a good question. Cryptotainment, is the 20% fee on your principal wrap Songbird? So let's say you have 100 wrap Songbird delegated to, or let's say you're due to earn 100 Songbird based on whatever you wrap to them. Then FTSO EU would get 20 of your rewards, and you would get 80 Songbird back. So it's only a cut of rewards received. They're not charging you just to delegate with them. They're charging you on when you get rewards. So like if the signal provider never got any rewards, they couldn't charge you anything. So it's really just their cut of the rewards for them providing this service, since it's something like we are not able to do as, general retail
and I think it was said that the rewards come directly from the FTSO. It's part of like the smart contract that's set up with them. I don't think you have to trust the signal providers to actually distribute it to you. It's not like they could hold your assets. I think they automatically get generated and then distributed based on your delegation power to that signal provider, and they just automatically go to you. You don't have to. I don't believe now. That's what I've heard. Just as of right now, grain of salt with that it's going to come directly to you, so you don't have to trust them to release your tokens. So they can't really hold it hostage. And if any signal provider did do that anyway, even if they were able to, then who would delegate to them anyway? So I think they have to live by reputation here and how they do things. And there's going to be multiple different variables. Like some of these signal providers could give out NFTs for delegating to them. Some of them can
Somebody's
issue new
doing that already. Best
Yeah,
FTSO
I
is
think it
giving
was
out
best.
NFTs.
Yeah, so we're going to see other variables that add into the rewards of why you would delegate to some. Some might issue just new tokens based on, their signal provider, and maybe have another dApp built on top of that signal provider. We don't know. Also, when we get F assets on Flare Network, you're going to be able to delegate votes based on your F assets too. Now, you won't earn rewards directly for that, but you can be compensated in other ways, like an NFT, like other tokens or other types of reward mechanisms that just won't come from the FTSO of the native token. So you're earning native inflation rewards. So the way miners earn rewards for mining blocks, you're earning those native inflation rewards. So there's no inflation getting dumped on the market. It's all going to the people who are participating.
Cool. So this question is a good one, Mickey. So from Crypto XRP Moonbase 1, he says, will you be able to delegate more than 2 signal providers on Bifrost? The answer at this time is no, but that's a governance restraint rather than a Bifrost wallet constraint. They could actually facilitate that if, the network decides to allow people to delegate to more than 2. And once again, with what we were talking about earlier on how long the reward claim period is, I think this is something to make sure the network gets up and running fine and not to, overpower it too quickly before they can get all the nodes up and running and bootstrapped. Like, we'll be running a node on Songbird and in Flare in the future. We're still waiting to get whitelisted. All the signal providers have been the ones getting whitelisted, and then there'll be more people running them in the future. So, it's slowly getting up and going. If you had been looking at the Songbird Block Explorer over the past week, on the homepage, you can see what's the average block time. And it was at 3.8 seconds earlier this morning, and it's already down to 2.3. So I think as these nodes are launching up and the validators are getting going, it's coming down. I mean, it was at like 50 seconds per block just a few days ago. So things are just kind of moving up and getting going. And that's why I think a lot of this stuff is as it is at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And also now keep in mind, all these wrapped Songbird tokens can't be traded on the exchanges at the same time. So while you're wrapping and waiting for those weekly rewards to come, you can't just be having a limit order on an exchange at the same time. So it's not necessarily locking the assets up, but if you want to get those rewards by the end of the week, they're going to have to keep your assets wrapped and delegated. So what this does is it limits, the reason for putting it on exchange is just a limit order because people want to get their rewards. So I think this is something we don't have yet with XRP. Now with RippleNet and ODL, they're trying to create these liquidity pools that will create more demand for XRP in there, and that will raise the price over time, but we're not there yet with that. And also FXRP, which will actually have a huge impact, I think, on the price, and it's being very underestimated right now because it's going to add yield to these assets. And adding yield to these assets is huge. It's some of the reasons why Cardano has exploded, why Solana has exploded, why Terra Luna has exploded. All these assets have exploded. You notice they all come with yield. Litecoin doesn't come with yield. Bitcoin doesn't come with yield. Ethereum doesn't come with native yield. So you're looking at why some of these things are jumping in price. It's because people are more likely to hold things that are going to earn them more of that asset, and especially at low risk or no risk. So this is going to have an impact, and this is utility. So when everyone asks, is utility coming? Are we going to have utility? Well, utility is right here. This is utility. You're looking at it. Delegating to the signal provider is utility for the Songbird token. So it's not some magical thing that's, out there in, the far future. It's here. This is taking place now. These things didn't take place in the 2017, 2018 bull runs. We didn't have these type of utilities. So they're here now. So now is your opportunity to participate, use the utility. These assets are meant to be used. They're not stocks that are just going to sit on the market. And that's why I think the ETF thing is way blown out of proportion, because it probably have an impact on Bitcoin, but the assets are meant to be used. You could create financial products of them and like securities for NFTs, but the real value driver is going to be the applications that are built on the networks then that utilize those tokens. So as we see more dApps being built in DeFi, gaming, NFTs, and you need to use Spark for gas and Songbird, and you need to have these assets and wrapping them, and then as collateral in the F asset system, that's a massive amount of utility. A lot of the utility takes place on the network, not in some far off fantasy land. where you think it's going to happen, but it's really right here, right now. So we just got to kind of be mindful of seeing that taking place, because sometimes it's hard to see things taking place when you're only looking at price, only looking at Gary Gensler. And I know he's annoying and I hate him too, but it can be distracting from what's actually taking place on these networks. And we're seeing utility take place. Staking is utility too.
Cool. And Mickey, last two things because we got to run to go
Oh,
catch
yeah.
that call. But with that, so I know we addressed this earlier, but for people coming in late, BWS 205 was saying, is there a rule of thumb on the amount of Songbird to leave unwrapped? Thanks. So the highest, I really haven't seen many transaction fees higher than like 0.07 or 0.08 wrap or Songbird tokens. So in that case, I would leave, maybe 2 or 3 sitting in your wallet. That should account for potentially, up to 20 to 30 different transactions until you need to get some more. You just, you can always unwrap a couple too if you start getting low. You just need enough to pay for that. Otherwise, you got to go and source it from an exchange. Sometimes that takes time. So, leave as many as you're comfortable with. Yeah, I think, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there is probably a good number to leave as a native Songbird. Otherwise, I went ahead and delegated all mine out, and Mickey did the same. And then the last thing I wanted to address, if you guys go on this Songbird Block Explorer, some of these addresses that come up, they'll have WNAT in front of them. And what that means is it's wrapped native asset token. So if you ever see WNAT, that's what that means. And that has to do with the Songbird token being wrapped. So I think Mickey would.
That's the native token of the network. So it's giving the native token smart contracts, because just like ETH, Songbird, and Spark don't come with native smart contract capabilities. It needs to be wrapped or an ERC20 standard type token. So it's giving it smart contract capabilities. That's all that really means. Wrapping. It's different than the wrapping of like Flare Wrap, bringing assets across the blockchain. So once again, terminologies in this blockchain space and crypto are very difficult, and this is one of those examples where wrapped can mean 2 different things.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, Mickey, I need to get us off. So thanks for joining us today. We'll have more content coming out, especially, with Songbird going. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about leading up to the Flare launch. So this is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP.
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out. See y'all.